I've always had an interest in non-conventional music. Metal sunk its claws deep into me as a teenager. Along the way, I took a liking to crust and punk. Though my love for Nine Inch Nails existed before my metamorphosis into a metalhead, I'd learn of classic industrial bands later. Bands like Throbbing Gristle, Velvet Acid Christ, and Skinny Puppy drove their rusted, bloody hooks into my playlist. But goth music in the vein of Love Like Blood, Suspiria, and Lebanon Hanover would take its time to find me. My knowledge of goth music for years was limited to the big names: The Cure, Susie, and Bauhaus. A friend's mixtape introduced me to Dead Can Dance, then a conversation with a black metal vocalist of all people turned me on to Drab Majesty. I didn't seek anything further than these bands for a while. Things started opening up again following COVID, and I learned of a club in Raleigh called the Wicked Witch. It hosted goth nights, but also had a lot of other events. On a quest for knowledge, people to meet, and fun to be had, I made the 70-minute trip to the Wicked Witch. As I was walking to the club, though, I got dragged into an hour-long phone call with a long-distance girlfriend. I was so tired after the phone call that I didn't even bother going in. I just drove home. I would find my way back eventually, though. Around a year later, that relationship came to an end. A friend wanted to get me out of the house and invited me to go to the Wicked Witch with her. Within minutes, I felt right at home. Nightclubs with pop and rap music were never my thing, but this was different. Lit candles illuminated the walls. Black lights put people at ease. There were decorative vines from above. Weird artwork was everywhere, and the smell of patchouli and cloves filled the air. That was all cool enough, but then there was the music. I wanted to hear new music in this new chapter of my life, and I heard great stuff all night. After posting about my night on social media, I had people recommend bands to me, as well as YouTubers that could recommend more bands. I learned a lot in a few months. There were also things about goth that mirrored metal to me. Different music, different fashion, different subculture, but I did find similarities in the community and DIY aspect of things. Dark music always appealed to me, and here was a new world to explore that was full of just that. Like metal, there are different styles of goth music. You have darkwave, death rock, and ethereal among others. At the Wicked Witch, you could hear Switchblade Symphony's trip-hop-ish leanings alongside the post-punk tendencies of Magazine. Even though the different fashion styles can sometimes overshadow the music itself, it's a music-based subculture. I liked how encompassing the music could be. There were many new and old bands that piqued my interest, such as Fields of the Nephilim and She Passed Away. Goth nights at the Wicked Witch were on the fourth Saturday of each month. I started going as often as I could. Over time, I'd get to know the regulars that seemed like they were always there. There were couples that left you in a good mood after a conversation with them, guys that you'd laugh your ass off with, and people with creative outfits. I thrived in this space and didn't have to put on any fronts. Yes, even metalheads showed up. A lot of them were like me. We could enjoy mosh pits at Obituary and then hit the dance floor here. My second goth night was when I first heard London After Midnight. That was one of many occasions over the years where I had to use Shazam to know what I was hearing. David Byrne's book, How Music Works, had a chapter where it talked about how music is made for certain settings. For instance, choir music for a church is written with the acoustics of the church in mind. Though I enjoyed Clan of Zymox at home, I learned that it was much better suited for the dance floor. A high volume and some people around you can make a world of difference in how you enjoy a song. Sometimes I'd be in the process of picking out music to hear on my walks, then I'd think, I'm probably going to hear this song at the Witch in a few days. I should pick something else. Musically, you'd have a mix of old school and new school stuff. DJ Dies-A-Lot was the Wicked Witch's owner, Tim. He also owned the Night Rider bar next door. One way to get there was by simply walking downstairs from the barroom of the Wicked Witch. I've seen many faces pilot the DJ booth. Van Poison, Chime Hour, Mortasha Kinski, Arachne, Valkyrie, Alice in Wonderland, Synaptic, and so many more. 20th Century Boy even hosted nights called Batcave. This was where you'd hear mostly old school goth and industrial, on vinyl records no less. There would also be open deck nights for anyone who wanted to try their hand at DJing. Before they started hosting nights catered to ravers, some EDM would make its way into the goth night playlist sometimes. Sometimes, EDM would dominate the set, glow sticks would come out, laser lights would be installed, and I didn't always vibe with it. That's the same in a lot of places. There are going to be songs you like, as well as songs where you want to go outside when they come on.
I'd still dance to it most of the time and have fun, but to me the best goth nights there had brooding music going on the whole time. And there were many nights like those.
Over time, there were more options to hear different things. Bands played there. How soon as 1984 is when you'd hear new wave. Everyone's outfits were usually bright and colorful. So much fun. There was the Witchcraft Art Market, there'd be drink and draw nights, there was the Doomsday Ball, which were the New Year's parties.
Happy New Year! Thank all of you. Let's keep partying and let's make 2025 much better. Much better.
And the Halloween parties were called the Witch's Ball. I always joked that if they had 2 of them 2 nights back to back, it would be the Witch's Balls.
Happy Halloween.
Blood Ball was a mix of Goth Night and Safe Word, their kink event. So you'd hear dark wave and fetish music in the same night. There could also be a drag performance. Butt plugs hanging from the ceiling would be a humorous mainstay. The club was a safe space for queer people, though you'd see many different walks of life there. When you weren't dancing or sitting around, you could be playing pinball downstairs at the Night Rider. You could also be sitting outside talking to people. Interesting things could still happen. A stray cat would appear, and we'd all gather in the middle of the street to go play with him.
Check this out.
No, we missed all the...
Oh no, don't go away now. Come back.
For a long time, there'd be a fire pit outside when it got cold. I always joked that I should have brought marshmallows. After joking about it for years, I decided one day to actually bring s'mores supplies. Just imagine my surprise when I showed up and a propane heater replaced the fire pit. Someone told me the tattoo shop next door complained about the fire pit, so it had to go.
I didn't know how true that was, but I wasn't willing to accept defeat.
What the hell? Taking a picture of the marshmallows out of y'all.
Hey, who's got the graham crackers?
The Grinch.
Yeah, got graham crackers too if you want them.
Pull it out, pull it out. There you go. Okay, very good. Now, get another one.
The funniest part was when I offered marshmallows to drunk and stoned people.
Hey, you want a marshmallow?
You got marshmallows, man?
Yeah.
Sure. The cage has to be mentioned. Dancers would be hired to be cage creatures for the night, but people also took turns having fun in there. It could feel like you were in the spotlight. Yes, I got in that cage many, many times. If the right song was playing and nobody was already in there, it was no question. Thrill Kill Cult is on? Hey look, Tony's in there. Nights at the Wicked Witch were something to look forward to. There was the ritual of trying on different outfits, donning different makeup, and planning our day around it. I'd often stop at McKay's or a cat cafe on the way there. If I didn't want to be laid back for the evening, I'd play some Ramones on the way there to get pumped up. But when I walked through the door, I entered my third home. Going home at the end of the night could be like the calm after a storm. I'd be on the highway at 3 in the morning, seeing gray clouds in the sky with Depeche Mode playing on the radio. In September 2025, it was announced that both the Wicked Witch and the Night Rider would be closing. They were denied a renewal of their lease. The landlord also wanted to make major renovations to the building. A lot of us found community in this space when it felt like third homes were hard to come by. It was there when we needed it to be there. I was 26 when I started going, and I spent 3 New Years in a row at that place. It wasn't all doom and gloom though. I knew the witch being gone would only be a minor setback. There were other clubs to go to, and the goth community wasn't going to go away. A few minutes away was what used to be the Maywood. It closed during COVID, but reopened with a vengeance as Chapel of Bones. Coffee shop by day, metal venue by night, but they started hosting goth nights called necromancy. I've also been to Winston-Salem's weird bar called the Monstercade. Lots of cool lights there. Goth prom at the Arcana in Durham was always intimate whenever I went. Even when I was on vacation, I was looking for clubs to go to. There was one last witch's ball on Halloween night.
You should start a fight tonight. That's such a good idea.
People's outfits were creative, and there was electricity in the air. The midnight ritual was also sick. The next night's All Souls Bacchanal was the final event, a night filled with unhinged amounts of hedonism to say goodbye to the space. All night, people told me, I'm going to be sad when this place is gone, and I would respond with, don't be sad when it's gone. Be happy it was here. Everyone was told no phones allowed after midnight. Since the no phones rule was a thing for safe word, a lot of people expected things to get pretty naughty. Things progressed through the night. That night was also when the time changed, so we got an extra hour of festivities. At midnight, there was a ritual involving Tim being bathed in blood. Not a single phone in sight. The way the lights were working with the brooding music, I stared in awe and took it in. There we were celebrating this space and new beginnings.
Okay, here we are on the final night. The Wicked Witch will be open. I am putting my phone in the car so that way I can live in the moment.
Then the music started back up, and a voice came over the speaker. In case you missed the memo, nudity is encouraged. It didn't take long before there was full-on debauchery. I'd never seen so much nudity in one place, and I followed Lords of Acid on tour. The thing about the no-phone events was that you could see people in their natural element. When they know pictures and videos aren't going to be taken of them, they can feel a little more free and in the moment. Hell was raised. Admittedly, I raised a little myself. Leaving at the end of the night was a moment I had to take in. I walked through the door and down a couple steps, peeking in at the candles inside one last time. Then I went to a small gathering for a while. When I finally got home at 5 a.m., I was so tired I went to bed with my makeup still on. The Night Rider would have one last karaoke night, and that was it. The Wicked Witch opened in November 2017. It closed in November 2025. For a club in Raleigh, North Carolina to be open for 8 years is nothing to scoff at. Many times during that final weekend, I'd heard people talk about how going to the Wicked Witch changed their life, or made it better. I was in the same boat. For me, the Wicked Witch was instrumental in helping me find goth music. Faith in the Muse now sits next to Fight in my CD collection. But also, friendships were forged, and there's a lot of value in that. Nights like those of the Wicked Witch will stay with me forever. Grind on.